Hey guys, today I'm going to show you an exercise called sitting abductor presses. What you're going to need for this exercise is either a yoga strap or a belt, but make sure that whatever you're using is not stretchy, okay? So not a band, you want something that's not stretchy, something that's taut, like this yoga strap or a belt. So what you'll need to do to begin is you'll want to sit with your knees and hips right in line with your ankles. Hey guys, today I'm going to show you an exercise called sitting abductor presses. The purpose of this exercise is to strengthen and stabilize muscles of your hips. So if you deal with weakness in your knees or weakness in your ankles, maybe you persistently sprain an ankle, or maybe you're aware that your ankles pronate or collapse in towards the middle, then this exercise is going to be a really good one for you to try out. So what you'll need is something to sit on so that your knees and hips are at 90 degrees, and then you'll need a strap like this yoga belt or like this yoga strap or a belt. So basically whatever you use, you want it to be taut and not stretchy. So make sure that you're not using a rubber band. Definitely either invest in a yoga strap, just something simple like this, or a belt is another really easy way to do this. So what you'll want to do to start off is to place your strap or your belt around your knee joints. Now you're going to want to cinch up your belt or your strap so that your knee joints are 1 fist width apart. Okay, so I'm just going to go a little bit more narrow there on mine. And then make sure that your belt or your strap or whatever you're using is right around your knees. So you don't want it up here, okay? You're going to want that right around those knee joints. Now the correct setup for this exercise is going to be critical in order for us to access the hip muscles that we want to access, which is the group of muscles that abduct the femur, or that move the femur away from the midline of the body. This is the group of muscles that we want to target and access in today's exercise. So in order to do that, what we want to do is we want to start off by checking the position of our feet. We want to make sure that our ankle joint is lined up directly beneath our hip joint, and we want to make sure that our feet are pointed straight ahead so that when we look down we can see that the outer edges of our feet are straight. So if your feet are turned out like this is going to defeat the purpose of the exercise. This is going to prevent us from accessing the muscles of our hips that we want to access. So we want to start off by toeing in slightly, making sure that our feet look maybe almost slightly pigeon-toed so that we are actually straight on the outer edges of our feet. Once we get into the correct setup there, I'm going to want you to relax your arms at your sides, or you can relax your arms and your palms up in your lap like this, but either way, you just want to make sure that your shoulders are nice and relaxed and that your shoulder joint is directly on top of your hip joint with your gaze looking straight ahead with your chin parallel to the floor, so we're not looking down and we're not looking up. So now we're ready to begin the exercise. What I want you to do here is I want you to tilt your pelvis forward to increase the curve in your lower back, and I want you to maintain that pelvic tilt while relaxing your stomach muscles. And at the same time, I want you to press out against the strap, hold it for a count of 1, and then slowly release. So again, you're going to press out, hold it for a count of 1, and slowly release. So you're going to continue this for a total of 3 sets of 20. Press, hold, and release. And where you should start to feel this exercise, where I'm starting to feel this right now, is right here in the outer hip area. Now, something to keep in mind when you're doing this, and I see this with a lot of people when I'm coaching them through this exercise, especially for the first time, is a lot of times we don't feel this in the correct spot initially. And if you're experiencing this, if you're not feeling it here in your outer hips, I just want you to know that that's okay. There's a couple checkpoints that we need to do to make sure that you are getting into the correct position, which I'll go over that with you in just a moment. But I think the key thing to note here is that these muscles in our outer hip, which again we call these the lateral hip stabilizer muscles. There's other names that these muscles go by, but essentially these muscles become weakened or deconditioned with the amount of time that we spend sitting in our day-to-day lives. And this is something that impacts really all of us, even athletes and people who are active. We all need to sit to do a lot of our day-to-day activities. So you can't really avoid it. So these muscles become deconditioned, and it can become difficult to access these muscles because of how long it's been, probably a lifetime, since these muscles have been functioning properly. So keep this in mind. This is a process. You may not feel it here right at the beginning, but I am going to go over with you the key checkpoints to make sure that you are getting into the position correctly so that you can do this exercise and eventually over time begin to feel it in the correct area and subsequently begin to feel better stability through your hips, to feel stronger and more stable through your knee joints, and to even feel a better balance through your ankles, maybe a smoother gait as you're walking and even going up and down stairs. So the way that we want to get into this exercise to feel it properly is first to make sure that we have that pelvic tilt. So I'm going to turn around and I'm going to show that to you from the side, what that should look like, and I'll move this microphone over so that you can I can make sure that you can see me properly here. The pelvic tilt should look like this. So the pelvis, being this bony structure right here in the middle of the body, should actually tilt forward. And as a result of that forward tilt of the pelvis, we should create just a gentle increased curvature here in the lower back, in the lumbar vertebra area. So I'll show you the biggest mistake. One of the biggest mistakes that people make in this exercise is really, first of all, thinking that they're tilting their pelvis and increasing the curve in their lower back when they're really not. So a lot of people are accustomed to being more tilted back and to having more of a flat lower back with not enough curve, really because of how much time we're spending in the seated position in our daily lives. So to do this exercise without the pelvic tilt and without the curve in the lower back was actually not a bad place to begin. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. But I do want you to practice and see if you can get stronger and better at this action of tilting your pelvis forward to increase the curvature of your lower back and to maintain that as you do the pressing and releasing. And the reason why this is important is because our spine is supposed to look like the letter S from the side, and a lot of us end up with a spine that looks a little bit more like the letter C. So we've kind of lost that curvature of the lower back, again because of sitting, not moving enough, and these things cumulatively cause that lumbar spine to lose its proper curvature, which is really a result of loss of muscular strength and activation in the muscles that surround the hips and spine. So again, just to review, getting into that correct setup position so that you're feeling this exercise properly, you'll want to tilt that pelvis forward. Now, second thing to keep in mind so that you can set yourself up for success here is your tempo. So you're going to want to really make sure that you think about this and break this down into 3 phases. Phase number 1, you're pressing out. Phase number 2, you're holding for a count of 1. Phase number 3, you're slowly releasing. So a lot of times when people don't emphasize all 3 of those phases, what ends up happening is that these muscles here in our lateral hip area, which are not only weak but also tense or tight. So we need to make sure that we're really working into these muscles and engaging this area in our hips. So what we want to make sure that we're doing is that we're pressing out, holding it isometric hold for 1 second, and then slowly releasing. And it's during that release phase that we're actually building strength and getting better access into those lateral hip muscles. So those are really the 2 key points to remember. Just to review, you're going to want that pelvic tilt, and then second is going to be your tempo. Press, hold, and release. So the full sets and reps for this exercise is 3 sets of 20 reps. So we have that many reps because it takes about that much to begin to cause a muscular awakening or a muscular activation in these hip muscles. So This is just a general number. Feel free for you to do less if you prefer, starting with maybe 20 or 30 reps and building up to doing the full 3 sets of 20. So that is the sitting abductor press. I hope this video was useful, beneficial for you. Please hit the like button on this video. I would really appreciate that, and subscribe to the channel, and hope to see you again soon.